Namo Namo Buddhaya Namo Dharamaya Namo Sanghaya Namo Namo Buddhaya Namo Dharamaya Namo Sanghaya Namo Namo Buddhaya Namo Dharamaya Namo Sanghaya. I take refuge until I am enlightened in the Buddhas, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Through the positive potential I create by practicing generosity and the other far-reaching attitudes, may I attain Buddhahood in order to benefit all sentient beings. I take refuge until I am enlightened in the Buddhas, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Through the positive potential I create by practicing generosity and the other far-reaching attitudes, may I attain Buddhahood in order to benefit all sentient beings. I take refuge until I am enlightened in the Buddhas, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Through the positive potential I create by practicing generosity and the other far-reaching attitudes, may I attain Buddhahood in order to benefit all sentient beings. So, we actually left off at a certain portion of the text around the end of the commentary. However, because we have a number of new participants, and for the sake of being able to review the text and the commentary, we'd like to briefly summarize the points and teachings in the main body of the previous verses. And so we'll be continuing from the Tonglen next week and the week after. However, for today, we'd like to take some time to explore and review the previous verses and commentary with everyone participating. Yes.
login roshan karsa nidun shushan phajin rimero qual ra ale tong as lo jong chi lo jong lai chora chi lo jong lai de zo so de res ani ji su na lo le ya gang yan dong lian che是吧我是没上路给刚也动了起啊现在这位前呢是拿去去两天以内的去没两天以内的我是刚也吃的啥呢刚也动了起啊是吧อันนี้ที่เราจงกดจีเรสแต่เนี่ยที่ยามดูตอนนั้นเราจงได้ใจนะจงจี시작前的这个对这呢ที่อันนี้ก็是การสู้的지금是拿去个多呢อันนี้上路ที่刚也动了开始起啊那是属于上路了呀가르스보다 지 소소소 로 상로데 지구스에 저러 어디 가르스 유면 근데 지 탈람소로 지 온텔리앙소 로종 슈비오레스
So we'd like to start by giving or sharing with all our participants and attendees a brief background and foundation of what the main emphasis of these teachings are, the practice and teachings or in explanations within this body of work are known as lojong in Tibetan, or mind training or thought transformation in English. And from a more general secular point of view, this thought transformation or mind training is can be applied, and the emphasis and focus is on facing challenges and adversity, and withstanding and skillfully maneuvering and navigating pain, suffering, and negative experiences. From a Buddhist point of view, the same focus with a similar intention of training one's mind and developing a technique and a means of dealing with suffering and difficulty, but also transforming the difficult experiences into something beneficial. And within this practice, bringing benefit, peace of mind, and happiness to ourselves and all others. So if everyone could turn to page 41. The root verses are here separately. They come up during the commentary as well, but what we would like to go through is an outlay or an outline of the root verses as we continue. So please turn to page 41, and then you can follow along with us as we go. And then when it comes to the commentary, please, if you can find the time to read them after the session, or throughout the week or throughout the days, as we continue, please do your best to do so. We encourage you to do so, and then that way you'll be caught up with what we've already gone through, and then that gives you, you'll be giving yourself the opportunity to analyze and contemplate, and then have questions for upcoming sessions. So please go through the commentary when you can on your personal time, the commentary that we've already gone through.
Yes, I think as 자와 대쇼로 가르로 디 인데로가 하지 디드션 디사로 차사로
사사로
지간이 보고 말아. 네, 아니 가서 쇼로 가르로라 디더나 힘본도 쇼윈스라.
Honest.
쇼랑제나 이주시지 나온다.
So please turn to page 41, where you'll find the root verses, and as we read together, as we read together each root verse, or after we read each verse collectively, Geshe and I will share a few thoughts about them. Lai. Tebe. Alechik. Alechik. Mokonyam the logistic. Ni yu. Ni yu. Inspect inchi toche chik bitam kirish. And she chukonyam the low and make a cement. The get dumps coin.
Oh yeah. Okay. And Chalosha, sugar lora, the Indisha Shawan.
So, is everyone comfortable? Yes. Yes. Of course. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And the Vinan to the Chide.
What you do? Cousin run tongues. Cousin con level and con just I'm ba. The corner they came in the Yanji. They tell me. Oh, this cold one. It turned out and you can't do the test.
Do you?
Would you like a copy, another copy of your own copy, in English? Would you like your own copy? No. Yes. Would you like another? Okay, just okay. So we'll read together the first verse on page 41. With the thought of attaining enlightenment for the welfare of all beings who are more precious than a wish-fulfilling jewel, I will constantly practice holding them dear.
Sanji Varchevala, and Sanji Alia, Sonam Sane, Sanji Guguyore, the Sonam Saya Shindo Delia, and a Kunchok Son La Subatan, the name of Zulma, and a Sinjalia, Jan Hinjila Subatus, Kunchan, and Sanji Tos Susia Sanji Guguyora. That is Sanji Varchevala, Sinjalia Gushop Guguyore. 아니 산지래야 구셔고고요. 니가도 총비고네. 아니 가서 구셔다. 아니 니가를 때네 산지고고요. 되잖아. 가서 내나로라 저도 때 송거라다. 아니 나니 신장 단줄라 유준노 볼래라 그러와. 신장 손더진 바이나 데스 참말이야. 가서 자천부체. 아니 신장 손더진 바이나 데스 참말이야. 구셔체하다. 아니 근데 고야데 송고요네. 티 고셔 체바이나 아니 고셔 체발 때네 소소기 소나 쇼치모 사토요 바다 아니 소소 마음바네 소소의 산지고요나 아니 신진당 산지니가 때네 야도스 산지고요 데스 송고요레스 단지도니도 쉬셔라 시상시나 뜻을 나마라. So I'd like to share with you of the essence or the main teaching of each verse. So this first verse here emphasizes and focuses on the need to value and respect all others. All sentient beings. We all have a wish to be free from suffering and to experience only peace and happiness. The pinnacle of this state, the highest state of being, is the state of enlightenment. And just as we rely, and just as we venerate, just as we rely on the teachings of the Buddha and venerate and see the Buddha as precious, we all need to see all other sentient beings as precious as well.
all sentient beings as precious as well, because it is through others, through interaction with others, through the kindness of others, through engaging in practice that involves others, that we're able to achieve this great state. So, verse 2. Whenever I am with others, I will practice seeing myself as the lowest of all, and from the very depth of my heart, I will respectfully hold others as supreme. So, the essence or main presentation in verse 2 is focused on tackling arrogance, seeing the consequences of arrogance, and then understanding that through this impact of arrogance, we experience suffering within. Do our best to apply antidotes to this arrogance, and rather than holding fastly to this divide between self and others, and seeing one self as superior to others, we reverse the state of mind, and we hold others with respect, and prioritize the well-being and qualities of others, rather than focusing on our own self-interest alone. We focus on others and their qualities, and then in doing so, we're able to balance and equalize our own sense of arrogance, or the arrogance that we reserve for ourselves. Here in the second line, where it reads, I will practice seeing myself as the lowest of all. This isn't meant to be interpreted as a self-deprecation. In this practice of alleviating one's arrogance, or decreasing one's arrogance, or applying antidotes to one's arrogance, and seeing and focusing on others, this practice isn't meant to undermine ourselves, isn't meant to belittle ourselves, and we're not meant to sacrifice or act as a martyr in this thought of respecting and seeing others as equal. In fact, we need a self-trust, a self-confidence, and a self-belief as a means of undertaking this practice. However, the emphasis is meant to be understood that by seeing oneself as the lowest, we're not seeing ourselves as the lowest, but we're highlighting the flaws and the faults of our arrogance, and seeing our egos and afflictive emotions and negative emotions as the lowest. And then again, through seeing those consequences, seeing the flaws of our ego and our afflictive emotions, we shift that focus onto others, onto the quality of others, and it's in this way that we're able to slowly decrease the intensity of our arrogance. Verse 3, in all actions I will examine my mind, and the moment a disturbing attitude arises, endangering myself and others, I will firmly confront and avert it. So verse 3 shares with us the need to be aware and to guard our minds, to be mindful of our thoughts, because we're so used to and we're so habituated to certain thoughts and emotions, many of them negative, and as soon as these thoughts and negative emotions arise, our actions follow. And so we're guided and taught to be mindful of our actions, of our thoughts. And as soon as negative ones arise, as soon as we feel them arise, as soon as we notice them, we then apply as best as we can antidotes to them, and then avoid all the conditions that would lead to the prolonging of this negative thought or emotion and actions that result from them. Verse 4, whenever I meet a person of bad nature who is overwhelmed by negative energy and intense suffering, I will hold such a rare one dear as if I had found a precious treasure.
로지 사와 로종 사와지 라야기 코랑기 고거들이 직접 손을 챘잖아. 아니 소소도 심디 강에면 지 텔파 컨트롤사 마지막에 와체 디 고거지 돈을 주 몽주네. 아니 소소 강에면 대하게 다람도 라보요레스.
Verse 4 here emphasizes that when we meet individuals and circumstances of an unpleasant and negative nature, instead of reacting negatively or feeling overwhelmed by them, we should see the situation or the scenario as an opportunity to practice and to examine one's own mind and one's own perception. So instead of feeling hatred, spite, or resentment towards those who happen to mistreat us or act negatively or unpleasantly towards us, we should do our best to, or we should try our best to see the opportunity that's being offered to look at things differently and to apply antidotes to the immediate negative emotions that arise when we come into contact with these individuals and difficult circumstances. Verse 5 is when others, out of jealousy, mistreat me with abuse, slander, and so on, I will practice accepting defeat and offering the victory to them.
내 참불에 저거 제토야다 아니 어떤 되기는 용으로 왔어
So verse 5 focuses on the ability to be patient, and when we encounter those who mistreat us, and rather than feeling that we need to come out on top in a certain interaction or in a verbal argument, for example, we offer the victory to them. And this isn't, again, a sacrifice. This isn't us forfeiting our own sense of belief or our own opinion. It's just thinking outside of our, it's just expanding our thought and our thinking so that we can de-escalate the reactions and the situation rather than exacerbating them or having them grow into something much greater than, again, for example, a small argument. If we happen to find ourselves in an argument, we can, again, as a means of de-escalating, as a means of maintaining peace and stability between ourselves and the individual who we're having the argument with, and in our own minds with ourselves, we can practice this form of letting go. And again, this letting go isn't a giving up of one's own stance and one's own thoughts, but thinking of the greater good and greater peace and stability between oneself and others by refraining and avoiding this the continuation of the argument or the disagreement or the unpleasant experience that's taking place between oneself and others. And this kind of practice isn't easy, but over time we can improve. We're not able to engage in the practices and the actions of the great bodhisattvas right away. Bodhisattvas, all of their actions of body, speech, and mind of every waking moment is engaged in through the great expansive mind of fulfilling the needs of others. And so even if we're not able to do engage in major practices or activities like the bodhisattvas would, we can still do our best to emulate the bodhisattvas by starting small and through slow accumulation of practicing patience and accepting defeat and offering the victory to others, also known as maintaining one's peace and refraining from an exacerbation of the already unpleasant situation. One can slowly practice, and one will feel the benefits of this kind of practice and mind training as one goes through, as one becomes more familiar with this technique of patience. So in moments when we're experiencing pain and suffering and difficulty with others, what we should remember is to keep our minds as flexible and as expansive as possible. Often when we encounter suffering, our minds tend to become very closed and narrow and limited. But if we keep those boundaries open and broad and remain flexible, we're able to extract benefit from the situation, and we're able to transform the situation from something unpleasant to something valuable. Going back to the example of if we're in an argument with someone, sometimes you may witness, or you may have seen, moments where one of the individuals in the argument says, "Oh, you know what? You're actually that was a really valid argument, or that was a really a smart way to approach your point, and that was a really skillful way to present what you meant to say, or your opinion," and something like that. Shifting that focus from defending oneself to being open and praising others helps to again maintain the peace and de-escalate any unpleasant experiences that are taking place in this interaction. So with that being the greater intention, with that being the greater wish, or this peace and happiness and stability, with that being the intention for in one's mind, in scenarios like this, what one can practice is, again, shifting that focus and alternating one's thoughts, or not alternating, but shifting one's thoughts to a completely different perspective. And in doing so, one may see the results, and these benefits will be experienced by oneself and all others who are part of the interaction and the scenario. So next is verse 6. When someone I have benefited and in whom I have placed great trust hurts me very badly, I will practice seeing that person as my supreme teacher.
Shartse, kogi loji sawa ta tagi tinda hoda hojira, loji sawa dosi kozani tsu raya tang, ane tende tone samudaya mato pe ko ane pe dobu shore sha samya di chenjua ma res. Ta di nang lo zo rawo di nga zo mi le jen le ya roba cheba tang, ane jen le ya pento kaza chi doba ina di le ya nge ni riwa tuya jiro, chajen tuya jiro, chajen chuan me be tone che guya de ke chenpo yinba tuya guya res. Azo mi sambu che su di sane mi sambu che ya di tsu riwa chi la samudang che ne mi sambu che dewa ina digi ani je la nga su la kange ma waso goya res. Mi suji la ruwa che giyo mi la pa yawo ro che giyo wa ina yawo che ya di la tsu chi chajen chuan me wa riwa chuan me be tono sima nanda sambu che giyo ina ani je la ya su su la kange ske yo ma se je la tsu yawo che na ra ma je la su su nanda ske yo ma was che la tena la zo ro di kar su ta jen la ya kandre paruba chege inara kandre chege yoba ina so riwa mebe ton che ati che res 现了自我起来，就我现了自我起来。那你之前的一切起来的样，那你说我这边大家行就前的一切起来的是给全部引爆的是点过来是吧？我说忙不起错几生长的过啦，就是错了，搞得穷本的钱。你觉得我说刚也忙不起我的过啦，我钱不起钱，那错几生长，我钱不起钱，我都是多的个啦。所以搞得起钱外那得了了，就钱钱找不到，我看也没得我钱钱了，偏头猪了他，反正台湾那些。新主也不钱的，我说2钱就行为呢，接了刚也都是用我买了瓦斯，我的接了这刚也买钱都到地上的钱回来，这是。
Verse 6 emphasizes when others treat us badly, despite us placing great trust in them, caring for them, treating them with love and kindness when they hurt us, instead of, again, reacting to that negatively, we can think about think about how best to bring about a peace, calm, and happiness, despite these negative actions towards us, by seeing these negative actions as a teaching. We can almost see it as if this individual who's mistreating us is giving us a teaching or a lesson to learn from. And they're presenting us with an opportunity and an experience to learn from and to grow from. So anything seemingly and supposedly adverse can always be learned from. Benefit can always be derived from these experiences. And that's something that we should keep in mind, because being able to take something beneficial away from a negative experience helps our own qualities. It helps us build our own resilience and the increase of our own positive qualities and characteristics. And so instead of seeing this as an adverse and negative situation, what we can do is see this as an opportunity to learn and grow and transform from. The chance to practice analyzing our own thoughts and our own actions are best provided through these negative interactions and negative individuals, because if we're honest and if we think deeply, most of the time our thoughts and our actions come with a set of conditions and a set of expectations. So the greater these conditions that we place on others and the things around us, the environment around us, and the greater expectations we have, the more we suffer. And so instead of just going along with our initial feelings and our initial instincts, what we're being provided is the opportunity to slow down and to analyze and to reverse or to rewire, if you will, our perspective and how to approach the individuals and the things around us. So it's for this reason that we should really see this as a precious opportunity, and to see the individual who's mistreating us as precious and someone who is teaching us or giving us a teaching, or teaching us a lesson through their negative approach and their negative treatment towards us. Verse 7 reads, in short, I will offer directly and indirectly every benefit and happiness to all beings, my mothers. I will practice in secret, taking upon myself all their harmful actions and sufferings.
Sanlo nalo laura, sanlo nalo la, susugi penpaton dewa kandichi yoba ina yen la yapa, su katu pento drutugu ina ra, an teme wache ya juni, ani mi yen la pento drutugu ina ra, kari ina mena nga susugi kang penpaton dewa kandichi yoba ina tsama pa yen la ya, tang san san chi, rwa. Ani yen gi tachi kangen rabo tang tarichi yoba ina, anti nge rupa che ne susu gita seru che sang sang ro che trik sang lo de tang anti nani jang labar to ang su gi lojong gi che jo ro lojong na lo la ani jeng gi susu gi chi kang yen ro chi nyong de che ba ina ani jeng dong ne de se sama susu nyong de ai kang yen de ge ani chi gi ba da ro ya se ro da ro ti ko che bor sho nya bi me lam ro tu che ya 안 de che ba ina nga su gi ta ji ne sonam 쇼cham부 쇼치 사게 무슨 거였어. 니네 단단하고 가르스고래. 시 소소리야 펜바던 대화 간데 지요바인데 참아 젠나 봐. 아니 땅상상기 노시디 요바이나 아니 젠들이야 신다니고 지차노 겨레스. 아니 맞아 가도 상으로 아주 젠으로 같이는 소소라 가르 대화 가르도 삼 식바레스. 데르사메 게 말레스. 가서 아주 젠이야 가족이 젠 펜그 상도 자치아요나 안 디체징 아주 소소의 로티 상로디 자체부터 고양무시고 차는 거래서 상로 지상기 자체부터 고양무 차로 디체지 소소의 지구 차용 오요네서 봐 지상 아주 원소 내 젠펜 로용 되잖아 내 젠펜 상로가 상로 쇼치모 땅 안에 젠이야 로바 체야이난다 안에 젠강이야 가족이 젠을 제버는서야 젠 자체부 가족 체야기 소소 상로나는 가족이 자체를 로아 디체지 안에 소소 상로디 고양무 땅 자체부 차는 아이소 수수 주우데 양아서 가서 삼다만 수수 주우라데 지차더와 지인도 잔나 상로데 가져이는 가도이는 도르치 말와 젠 삼다만 젠 장례 되고 지인도 잔나 젠팽 상로 가서 땅만 수수 로자치르노야 아니 상로데 고양르노야 아니 지부 차야데 랑신이 차오는 거로왔어
So here the practice of wishing all others benefit and happiness, seeing them as and respecting them as individuals with great value for oneself. One can visualize in practice imagining the period that through one's own pain and suffering one is purifying and taking upon oneself all of the suffering of others. Through this process, purifying one's own suffering and purifying that of all others as well. And in this practice, in this thought, the focus is on others. And so when we think about relieving others of their suffering, we're wishing for them to be free from pain and difficulty. And in doing so, we create a closeness and a connection with others. We start to feel at ease, a sense of comfort when we think of others, because we're wishing them all the best. We're wishing them to be free from suffering, and we're wishing them to experience happiness. And these thoughts generate a closeness in our perception of others, a closeness with others through the way that we perceive others. And so we can imagine that we're taking, when we do experience difficulty, that we're taking this, we're going through this not only as a means of purification for ourselves, but purifying all the negative actions of others. And then in doing so, we'll be able to experience happiness for ourselves. There may be times when, again, this strong separation or differentiation between oneself versus others is apparent in our minds, arises in our minds in a deep and very innate way. But if we take a moment and take the opportunity to slowly balance that intensity, and instead of holding on to this idea that there's this great gap between oneself and others, we can develop this closeness with others through focusing on them. Again, like we shared with you a few moments ago, when we think about our own suffering, there's this overemphasis and focus on just oneself, just myself, what's happening to me, this is pain that I'm feeling. You can see that the key words here are I and myself. And when it's just oneself, we're talking about just one individual. But when we say others or think about others, others are countless. It's a countless number. And so if you can just think about kind of the short boundary or the limits of thinking about just one individual, or just being concerned with one individual versus the limitless number of others, that contrast in openness and expansiveness is experienced in one's own self, and a sense of openness, a sense of an open heart, a friendliness, an even relaxed state, and even a state of relief can be felt when we think about others, because we're shifting that focus onto something much, much more and greater than ourselves. And when I say greater, when we say greater, we don't mean, again, to undermine oneself, belittle oneself in comparison to others. We mean greater just sheerly in terms of number. And so when that focus is on many versus just one, this relaxed state is had, because we then open our minds and our hearts, expand our minds and our hearts. And ultimately, in that, not only do others benefit from the immediate actions that we have, that we engage or that we devote to others, but that benefit and sense of relief is experienced in our own selves. So in the commentary, and you'll notice when you read it, verse 7 mentions the practice of Donglen, or what is known as the practice of giving and receiving. And this practice is explained and more elaborately and extensively towards the end, towards the back of the text, starting from page 154. I'm sorry, 153.
53, yeah.
And we've been going through a couple of the sub chapters within this section. But whatever we were able to share with you today, please know that they're just brief explanations and touching ever so lightly on the surface of the deep meaning of these practices and these teachings. For the sake of time, we just went through the verses briefly, or the meaning of the verses briefly, but please take the time to read, to analyze, to question, and then to slowly apply whatever part of the teachings you can. We'll now surrender the mic to our participants. If you have any questions or any topics that you would like to discuss, please feel free to do so. For those of you that are here in person, if you have anything you'd like to share or ask or comment on, any observations, anything at all, please feel free. I'll have this mic passed around to you, or I'll pass this mic on to you. And then if you're joining us online or participating with us online, please feel free to share any thoughts or questions in the main chat box there. So we actually had our own question for, about the day-to-day experience, or personal day-to-day experience for our younger participants today. Can we ask if you're currently in school? Yes. Yes. Actually, is it okay if I pass the mic around? It would make a difference to our participants online if you could speak to the mic. Give me just a second. Can we ask what grade you're in, or if you're in college?
I'm a freshman in high school.
Okay.
I'm going into sophomore year of high school.
Okay. And we wanted to ask you, of all the curriculum that you're taught on the day-to-day in school.
Day-to-day?
On the day-to-day, of all that curriculum, is there any lessons or focus on this kind of internal training or internal work?
This internal work is mainly revolved, I would say I can kind of revolve this around English class, because there's many lessons that you learn that are similar to this. As in, there's some books that talk about greed, and not to focus too much on greed, and different lessons like that.
Okay, thank you for sharing. 그런데 쌀 tani kisi ta deyurish inji zinana this you sibaris ro ani tebdini lo churu tebdina la yata mi chik choda oden jeshi yegruas der shashana bi mi tyangamda oda ani oden ko ya ani chik chik tenzuki kyen ro nimi oden ko the shigris ro ani kisa de dan deyurish le na inji zinana libers ki ro
Quran message to the Mela and then Quran for the partition.
Oh, nice. I couldn't show that.
Quran to a
Oh, no. Yeah, so we were wondering if there was anything that caught your interest today. If there's anything that kind of stuck with you in the verses or in the things that we shared. Was there anything different, like drastically different from what you're used to? If there was any kind of impact from the teachings or the explanations today, just out of curiosity.
I think it was like around like verse 3 or 4. It stated like something like to treat like people like who've like hurt you or who have like done like great harm to you, like treat them with like care or like with precious hands.
Right.
Like I feel like I haven't like learned like all throughout much like to like treat like people like who have like done great harm preciously, or like to think of them like as like a greater being and to like take lessons from them.
Right. So this is kind of new.
Yeah.
A new approach, if you will.
Yeah, it's a new approach.
어디? 나도 나 시제 숨을 쉬거나 숨을 쉬면이나. 아니 배 가서 이 섬도 단조 식다조 배 로아를 셨በት. 인터넷 보내 거는 소득이 배진들이 지 로마뇨네 라마뇨스. 아니 지 수능 경기라 야지 사심부지야. 아니 지 신 믹스에게 수능 경기 지 잡을지야 어디니 배 이사오를 셨어. 어디서 Thank you for sharing. And what about yours? We didn't get your name actually, or your names.
My name is Henry.
Nice to meet you, Henry. Nice to meet you.
I'm Allison Hon.
Nice to meet you.
Sorry, what was your question?
Oh, just if you had anything that stood out to you today, or there was anything that was new or kind of impacted you in a way that you had never really noticed before, or anything in the verses or in the things that any of the explanation that was different and that impacted you in some way.
So I thought similarly to my brother, in the sense that the perspective of viewing individuals above yourself is rather new to me.
Right.
In the aspect of competitiveness, I
Right.
think that is really prevalent in today's society, especially in like my atmosphere.
Yeah.
And understanding that that sense of competition isn't what is needed to be prioritized in order to reach a sense of self-enlightenment is really introspective for me. And I think that the idea of viewing somebody who has maybe done you wrong or is of bad nature, and viewing them as something that you should be treasuring rather than to be avoiding, really just like shows that sense of selflessness.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing. The anyone sawarishes ra. The any tanda sawarishes tanda budi chik chizu dinana. Chik jensum ki de ushus ra. Ani chik unje chanda chik jensum ki wairis. Lawgores. Tani chik suzur ya gewali ya ni shen kan chik jokwaya. Ani ya chik 캡산 소설 랭과에 셴 종제고에 어디는 뭔가치 지소나 로션 등뒤 로션한테 쭉 슈려야 되는데 비신 시고 레스토랑 어딘지 지 심슈게 된다려야 소설이야 치원도서야 소설이야 개월다서야 소소디 가서 성교 참아 라니랑 ki chedo mado ani shen chik ki pensem tindi thola shushi lagwa maris ali shushi anti mindar shashas ani masebe ani tine sozole chik jong chenge sozole chik duja chenge ngemba chenge di ani chik shenyen du tae ani de chik khasur cross tsane su khogab da ani chik keben khasur cross pa ani chibat sen da ani soba komale tene cross tsane su khogab da keben la odi thon pejen da da shushi komanyoti some chik shipso tango ke ki khogab da odi chungsig
Then they should do some Tanga Chitang Rodon Chile. Then the Sukula Ganyan Don Chetan, Peshana Tanazo, Chijan Salayang, Zobanachi, Gomba Ina, and then Nachushi out on Sheva Inane, and the Sonama which sound the service. Sonia Batan. Haberton as a meeting also the Ganyan which is Sugio Ina, and then Ganyan Sayagi Jaja Jura, Jaja Mamuji, and also Chukin Aging, and also Juahama the less Sava than letting into which it and the said we over. And then Mamuji was a Ganyan to the Gagong, the Lojan Chat, the Ganyan, the Dutch distance. Kaisang Juahama Sasha, your laying but the devoted train on Savata, distance, laying but the devoted train Zodo, and Gagong, and so Ganyan the Donation, the day soon the society. There's Jacha and the Nashu Tony, also Nashu said, Sasha would have done Shasha at the mind, but the Lojan Chat and the Zuta that Chun Rojera, Chomba in an Lambrin Chamula, so that the John Chamma, there's another lower in chance of Lojima, attendant and across the Lojan Chesham, and it Jibatas lower in a chance of attendant Logi, Mawes, and this Lotonia Wores.
Yes, definitely a different approach. From the Buddhist practice perspective, or from that point of view, these opportunities, when we encounter suffering and difficulty and unpleasant experiences, particularly involving others, the ability to, or the ability and the gradual practice of patience and awareness and transformation of our perceptions are known to be great causes of accumulating good merit or good imprints or good karma, positive karma. And at the same time, as we mentioned earlier, experiencing pain and suffering is the experience of purification of one's negative actions accumulated either in this life or previous lives. It's the exhaustion of negative karma. And so even though we're experiencing pain and suffering in these moments or in difficult moments, we can at least see a silver lining, if you will, and know that despite the difficulty, I'm at least paying back my karmic debt, or what we can call karmic debt, and purifying my negative actions accumulated sometime in the past. And so, even with this kind of thinking, we're able to bring about a level of peace and calm despite adversity and difficulty. So yes, there's many benefits to be had from shifting one's approach and one's mentality and one's perspective. And what we shared with you today were just very brief benefits. And if you're interested, these teachings and this practice are emphasized and very elaborately and comprehensively in many different commentaries and Buddhist literature and works, literary works, a lot of which are contained in what are known as the Langri teachings, or the sages of the path to enlightenment teachings, specific genre that encompasses all practices leading to this state of Buddhahood. And so in these teachings, there's a very strong emphasis and elaborate explanations on these practices of transforming adversity into the path, or transforming suffering into practice, and then the benefit that follows. So, yes, if you're interested, we'd like you to keep that in mind, and we hope this today's session serves as a platform to greater inquiry and analysis and curiosity into the path and the practice. So it doesn't seem like we have any questions or comments online either, or questions or comments online, not either, but online. So we'll end the session for tonight. We thank you for your participation, and we hope you're able to continue to read and analyze the text. Go through each lesson every week. We'll now end the session by dedicating all positive merit and imprints we've accumulated together collectively in the form of reciting the dedication prayer at the very beginning of the book, just after the copyright page. So please recite the dedication along with us. To His Holiness, the 14th Dalai Lama of Tibet, and all the holy masters of the Buddha Dharma, may they have long and healthy lives. To the teachings of the Buddha, may they endure for a very long time. To the members of the Sangha community, may they abide in pure morality, be free of any schism, and succeed in their studies and contemplations. To all beings, may they be free from suffering, and may they attain great enlightenment. To all the nations of the world, may they be free from illness, famine, war, and conflicts. May lasting peace prevail and endure forever.